Alright guys, so in this video we're going to connect to our MySQL database, and after that we're going to get rid of these static lines here and actually output our shouts that are now stored in our database. Alright, so we want to connect in our database.php file. Okay, it's only going to be a couple lines of code. We're using pretty much the easiest solution to interact with a MySQL database. Alright, so we're going to open a PHP tag. I don't know what that is. And let's see, we're going to connect to MySQL. Alright, so what we're going to do is create a connection variable. Alright, and we're going to set that to MySQLi connect. Alright, and you should always be using MySQLi. Don't use MySQL Connect. It's deprecated and it's just it's much less secure. It's much better to use MySQLi. If possible, it's better to use something like prepared statements or in PDO, but that's more advanced, and I don't want to get into that until after we get kind of the basics down. Alright, so this connect function takes a few parameters. Alright, so the first one is going to be the host, which is localhost most of the time. And then the username, the database username, which is root. And then the password, which I just threw in this simple password. And then we want the name of the database, which is shoutit. Alright. So that's our connection variable, and we'll need this variable for certain tasks. Alright, now what we want to do is test the connection. Alright, now we could just say if not connected. Alright, so we can just check and see if this is not, alright, if it's not true. But we can also use a useful function called MySQLi connect errno. Okay, errno, I don't know how it's pronounced, but ERRNO. Alright, so we can check for errors with that. Alright, and then we can echo out an error string. We'll say failed to connect. Alright, and we don't just want that, we want to actually have some information about what happened. Alright, so we can actually throw in this MySQLi connect error. Alright, and that'll give us specific details about what happened, because just seeing failed to connect to MySQL, that's not going to be very helpful when debugging. Alright, so that's it for the database file. We want to save that. Now we want to go back to index and make sure that we include that file, because we're going to be using it. We're going to be interacting with the database, so we need a link to that file. Okay, and we're just going to use a simple include. Alright, so let's go to the index file, reload. Alright, so nothing's happening, which is good. Alright, now if we go back to that database file and let's change the password. We'll throw a character in there. Now we reload and we have some useful information. We have access denied for user root. So basically it's telling us that our password's not correct. And right here it says undefined variable connect error. I'm not sure why it says that. Oh. Wait. Undefined variable MySQL connect error. Oh, I have a $sign on this. It's a function, it shouldn't have a $sign. Alright, so let's try that again. Alright, so failed to connect to MySQL. which is our error that we're putting out. We have the PHP error and then our error along with the information that is passed in through this function. Alright, and you could set this to die if you don't want the script at all to show. Alright, so we could do this. Alright, and then if they try, it's not going to show the script at all. I think I prefer it more this way. Alright, so let's put that back. Password. So now that we know that we're connected, we can actually we can close out database because we don't need that file anymore. So we can actually run a query now, get the results, and print them out. And it's not too difficult to do that. Just a couple lines of code, really. Alright, so in the index file, we're going to open up a PHP block. Alright, so let's we'll say create select query. Alright, so I'm going to put it in a variable called query. And if you know MySQL, then you should have no problems at all. If you don't, then we're just dealing with extremely simple queries. Alright, so basically what we want to do is just select all shouts. Alright, that's what we want, because that's what we want to put down here, is just all the shouts. Alright, so we're going to say select. Now we can specify fields here. We could say username, what else was there, time, or whatever, or we can just say select all. Alright, and you can do that with an asterisk. And I'm sure most of you know this already. I'm just trying to point this out for people that may not. Alright, so we're going to say select all from, and then the name of the table, which is shouts. Okay, so that is probably, well, that is the simplest query that you can do. Alright, so now what we're going to do is create another variable to hold the results of the query. Okay, so we're going to run it here with the MySQLi query function. Okay, so then we're just going to pass in that query. Alright, and we could just as well have done this and not even had this line. We could do that, but I've always liked to put my queries inside of a variable and then pass that variable. Alright, so that'll get the shouts for us. Now, if we just leave it as it is now, nothing's going to happen. It'll run the query, it'll store them in this variable, but we need to output it somewhere. Alright, and we want to output it down here. Now when you have multiple records coming back like we do, you need to create a loop, alright, and then output each row in an iteration. Okay, so we want to output list items. So right here I'm going to say PHP, and we're going to use a while loop. Okay, so we're going to say while, and I'm going to use the shorthand syntax like this. That way we can just put straight HTML inside of the loop. Alright, so we're going to say while row. Okay, we're going to create this variable called row and say MySQLi fetch. Now there's a bunch of different fetch methods you can use. You can get an associative array or an object, things like that. We're going to use an associative array, so we're going to say fetch assoc, which is the name of the method, and we're going to pass in shouts. We're going to pass in the variable that's holding our result. Often you'll see this variable called results or result, but I like to be more descriptive. Alright, so we're saying, basically what we're saying is while there's still rows in the database that match our query, we're going to do something. Alright, and what we want to do is output a list item with our information, with our time and name and message. Alright, so we can get rid of all these static ones because it's going to run through the loop and print them out as we go, as it finds records. Alright, but we don't want the static information. If we keep it like this, unexpected end of file 36. Oh, I forgot the PHP. Expects at least 2 parameters. Oh, we didn't pass in the connection. When you do MySQLi query, you want to pass in your connection variable, okay, and that's actually in our database file. And then, yeah, that should do it. Alright, so what it's doing is it is getting the information from the database, and we are going through them in this loop, but it's outputting this, it's static information. Alright, that's why we see the same one. So what we want to do is replace the static content with dynamic content. So we'll do the time first. Alright, so we're going to get rid of this and open up a PHP block. Alright, and in here we want to echo out row time. Alright, so we're getting the row from the database, we're getting the time field here. Alright, so that takes care of the time. Let's copy this, and we want to put the name right here. Okay, so we're just going to change this to name. And then finally we want the message. So we'll replace this message. Alright, so that should do it. If we save it and reload. Okay, undefined index name. That's right, it's user, not name. So we want user. Alright. So it looks a little funny because we have this dummy text, but you can see that it's working well. They're all being pulled out. We have what, 5 records. Okay, so that's coming from these 5 records. Let's actually make the name bold so that it stands out a little more. So the user right here, we're going to say strong. Alright, so there we go. There's our shout box. There's our shouts. Alright, so the final step in this process is to create insert functionality. So we want the person obviously to put in their name and message and be able to submit through the browser. So we'll do that next.